Last week, we were invited to join Etihad's inaugural A350 flight from Abu Dhabi to Paris. Inaugural flights are always fun because everyone's in a good mood and it's a bit of a party. But we've also been wondering about the interiors on these A350-1000s for quite some time now. Etihad took delivery of the first batch of these planes years ago, but sent them immediately into long-term parking. One was present at the Dubai Air Show, but the interior was kept mostly under wraps, so it was lots of fun to head down to Abu Dhabi, finally get a look on board, and give it a good tryout on a 6.5-hour flight.
Morning.
Hello, good morning.
We're finally on board Etihad's A350-1000. I've been fighting to get on board this thing for a long time. We tried at the Dubai Air Show. If you saw our videos from there, we didn't manage to get on board, but we looked at it from outside and thought, wow, what a pretty airplane that is. So finally on board now for the inaugural. This is the first time that most of us have really seen inside. We had that one leaked Twitter video that came out during Dubai Air Show that showed a little bit of what the business class was going to be. But it's really nice to see it in person. Fantastic plane, of course. No surprise that the A350, a brand new A350 no less, would feel great inside. Etihad's cabin colors and finishes and fabrics are really nice as well. They really complement the beautiful new Airbus. And the business class seats are interesting. They're similar to some seats you see on other airlines like British Airways Club Suite, with a bit of an enclosed reverse herringbone suite feeling with a door, and really nice colors and light fixtures and that kind of thing. We'll check that out more in depth in a minute. Trying to run through and take some footage and photos now before everyone else gets on board. Soon we'll be taking off for Paris.
Welcome aboard. Remember, smoking flight.
Insert the metal clip into the buckle. Including e-cigarettes is not allowed anywhere on board, including the toilets. Tampering with a smoke detector or not adhering to these directions is a criminal offense.
أهلا بكم على متن رحلة دالي هذا اليوم. يجب ربط أحزمة المقاعد فور إضاءة علامة ربط أحزمة المقاعد المدنية المتحركة، ثم اسحبوا الجهة المقابلة لوضعية الاستخدام أثناء الطيران. إذا تعرض جهازكم الإلكتروني للتلف أو ارتفعت درجة حرارته أو أن حزام المقعد مربوط بإحكام وإعادة ظهر مقعد.
Everybody hear me at the back? Terry? Yeah. If I may, ladies and gentlemen, very briefly, on behalf of the whole of the Etihad family, and in particular our amazing cabin crew and flight deck, welcome you to join us on this inaugural flight, commercial flight, to Paris Charles de Gaulle. We'll pause for a moment and look at the competition.
For this inaugural, we got specially printed menus commemorating the day and a little box of chocolates too. But as for what you can expect when you fly this plane in regular service, well, the suite itself is really very nice. I really like what Etihad is doing with its cabin colors, its finishes, its fabrics. They're all really nice. They all feel really premium. And, you know, there's kind of gold all around this suite, but it actually isn't garish at all. It looks really lovely, really premium. And this seat also has a closing door, which is a bit like many of these closing door suites. It's more of a novelty than anything. You can still kind of see over it. People can see into you. It's not completely closed. I think this is a really relaxing and cozy place to spend a few hours en route. So, high marks so far. Let's see how it goes in the next few hours. The Wi-Fi is not so fast or functional. It works now and again. There's a wireless charger for the phone, which also kind of works now and again. I am quite happy to see that they have USB-C, so I'm able to charge up my phone quickly in any case. It's the same seat as you'll find in British Airways' new Club Suites business class, among a few others. It's undeniably a good seat. There's a door for some added privacy, there's plenty of space, it's comfortable for sleeping, and there's a big footwell. And this one has been customized by Etihad with some really nice finishes. The golds are not in your face. There's a very solid table. Alongside you, there are a couple of small storage spaces under the countertop. The screen is high quality and features fancy new functionality like Bluetooth pairing and video sharing between seats. However, I found it to be not very responsive to touch and pretty laggy in general. In fact, it crashed a few times and had to be reset. This may be down to some early bugs that will get worked out. I saw some decent entertainment options on here, but as with certain other airlines, I think they really ought to add whole seasons of TV shows, not just an episode or 3 here and there. One major gripe about Etihad is that they have data caps on their Wi-Fi. That simply isn't competitive these days. 350 megabytes is the highest you can buy, and for many people, that's good for maybe a few hours of iPhone use. It's just unnecessarily stressful worrying about how many megabytes you're using up and whether you need to ration them in order to stay in touch throughout a flight. In this case, you really do need to ration, and the connection was slow as well. That may have been down to everyone being given a free 350 megabyte voucher on this special flight, but still, I would have expected better from a very new plane. I like the colors used in the lavatories, though I was a little disappointed not to find a window in here. You can't have everything, I guess. Put the pillow back here. Might be a little better. Very comfortable. Nice pillow too. Very relaxing. And once you go flat, the door adds just the right amount of privacy. Obviously, people can see from the aisle if they're walking through, but just separates you a little bit from the cabin in a nice way.
There you go. And some notes you want to start with.
As you can probably hear, it's a little louder back in economy class compared to the forward cabin, but this is still a very comfortable airplane back here too. And these seats have also been given a redesign. They look great. The one protruding headrest wing is fairly unique. You see this on their 787s as well. That's probably a love-or-hate thing in terms of looks, but I'd imagine it's very useful for leaning against if you're looking to sleep. As with the forward cabin, the fabrics and detailing are all very nice indeed. what is special about this aircraft in terms of what we get in the cabin, what passengers will find on this airplane? What are you showing off today about that?
This is showing off our brand new products on board the airplane. And if we start with business class, these are new seats with privacy, lie flat, doors, wireless charging, and a real degree of privacy in your own cocoon. Likewise, when you walk into economy, has a similar aesthetic feel to it. It's stylish yet calm. The seats that we've got are the latest generation in terms of living space. People talk about pitch a lot. Pitch is an outdated measure these days because it really depends on what is the space between the bottom of the seat and the seat in front. And with the new composites and the slimline bags, we've got a really great seat for comfort on board this aeroplane. So in economy, we've got our standard economy seats, and then at the front of the cabin, we've got our economy space seats, which add on an extra 4 inches of legroom.
How does Etihad manage to sort of make some noise in that crowded field, and what sets Etihad apart in that?
Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of players in the field. If we talk about the airline overall, it's not just about the seats you have on board. It's not just about the food that you get. It's about how it all comes together. I know it may sound cliched, but ultimately it's how people feel when they leave your care, and it's how all those little elements come together. So for me, it is about the hard, tangible things, but it's also about our people, and it's about how well our crew interact with our guests, and we're incredibly proud of them in how they pull that all together.
Does it feel like we're at a turning point now with people coming back, flights coming back? There's a kind of different feeling in the air.
There is no doubt that we're at a turning point. I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Perhaps we're not quite sure how long the tunnel is, but there's no doubt we're seeing a return to air travel, and it's coming back faster than was predicted, maybe even as little as 6-7 months ago. So yes, we're optimistic.
So how about the food? This was a breakfast service, and that's a tough one to judge by. But I will say a lot of the food I had on Etihad, between this and another flight the day prior, sounded a little better than it tasted. That's not to say it was bad. It's just that none of it was stand out, tell your friends about it great. I bring this up mostly because I think that if Etihad really wants to set itself apart with the details, which it does a good job of with the seat and the service, upping the food game a little might go a long way. This was a lobster eggs Benedict, and the fact of what it is already sets high expectations. The eggs were overcooked. It was just fine. Meanwhile, every flight attendant I interacted with was exceedingly friendly and helpful. That's the sort of thing that can vary quite a bit at many airlines, but I got the sense that with Etihad, that's quite consistent. If you're a regular viewer of these videos, you'll know that's something I really value. If you can count on crews being friendly and competent every time, it takes a good deal of stress out of the mix. And by the way, I would not recommend seat 5A or K on this plane. That's the front row of business class. For one thing, you can hear everything happening in the galley and the toilet flushing thanks to how quiet the A350 is. But more importantly, it's hard to get a good view of the wing and engine from up here because it's just too far away. If you're someone who cares about either or both of those things, like I do, sitting a few rows back should be just right. I think I'd very happily fly this on the long-haul services the A350s will eventually be placed on. According to Etihad, that's going to be New York and Chicago this summer, and likely Australia later on. I happen to be sitting just in front of Jonny Clark, founder of TheDesignAir, so I thought I'd ask him what his impressions were. And if you want to check out his reports on this and other products, I'll link to TheDesignAir in the description.
It's the first time I've seen it. It's a very solid product. It's very beautifully designed, very spacious. You get a real sense of space in the cabin with the raised ceilings. The seats themselves are much wider than the previous incarnation of the seats. So passengers get a lot more space, a lot more storage, and it feels very modern, clean and contemporary. My concern when I first realised it was going to be the Super Diamond seat was that it was going to feel very similar to what other competitors have. But Etihad have managed to just tweak one or two small details, and I believe they're going to tweak more details with the 787 seat as well. So it does feel really unique and bespoke to them.
Etihad has been repositioning itself as a smaller boutique airline in recent years. It wants to stand out for the quality of its service, even with a more limited network than some other Gulf carriers. I think this aircraft is a great asset in that pursuit. If the airline can get the details right, like food quality and service flow, it has the potential to be one of the best airlines flying. I'd say that they're definitely onto a winner here. It's just what you need in terms of a business class product. It's comfortable to sit in, lie flat. There are little extra perks like wireless charging. You can find things to complain about, little things like maybe you wish there was a bit more storage, maybe you wish the door was a little bit higher so you could be really cocooned in here. But really, there's not too much to complain about here. This is a fantastic seat for comfort, and it's lovely to look at too. And that's something Etihad, I think, has really managed well, both on previous generation aircraft and also these new ones, is to have this kind of Etihad look and feel, to give a really luxurious kind of premium, not over the top, but just nicely done, nicely appointed cabins that have a nice feeling to them. They're nice to sit in. So while this seat may not be groundbreaking exactly, we've seen it on other airlines, I think it is something special they've got going here, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of these come on board and see what Etihad does with them, where they send them, and so what their next few years will be like. In the meantime, they've got a really great basis from which to sort of come back and hopefully ride this wave of people coming back to travel in general. And what better plane to do it in than the A350? In Paris for Flight Radar 24, I'm Gabriel Lee.